Good morning to you. Happy Tuesday. We will jump right into this. We have a guest in the studio, and I don't like to waste time because I realize how precious your time is. Senator McCain, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Bruce, for having me on. Most important issue of the day, as you and I were talking earlier, is to get Andrea on Regis and Kelly, and
Yeah.
I'm happy to have endorsed her candidacy and said I approve the message. So
Our good friend Andrea over at Camel Country, and we wish her loads of luck on getting that. She's one of 10 finalists now to be on
she's
Regis.
co-host with Tim and Willie, as you know. And so good luck, Andrea, on being on Regis and Kelly.
Yeah, your endorsement obviously helped.
I said I approve that message.
I think it does. And on a serious note, I think I share with you that our thoughts right now are with a former colleague of yours, Senator Ted Stevens, former Senator Ted Stevens, who has been involved in a plane crash, and at this point, condition is unknown up there in Alaska.
Yeah, it's very tragic. And I also, Sean O'Keefe, who was the former head of NASA, I got to know very well over the years, and I understand one of his sons was also. So it's a great tragedy. I was mentioning it to you earlier, Bruce. It's an incredible story, but in 1978, he and his wife and some other people were in a serious crash in Alaska. I think it was on landing at the airport there, and that killed his first wife.
Wow.
So anyway, our prayers are with Ted and his family and his wife, Catherine, and so that's not much else you can say.
No, and obviously we'll keep you updated on any of the other details as this becomes available, and details are sketchy as they are still working on trying to get to the crash site. Obviously, it's a political season. We would be remiss if we didn't jump right into the middle of this.
Could I just mention one
go right ahead.
item
Yes, sir.
on our list here very quickly? The USS John S. McCain, named after my father and grandfather, today pulls into the port of Da Nang in Vietnam, which shows if you live long enough, anything can happen.
Anything is possible
in this world.
Anything is possible.
It's really quite it's a little emotional for me, but quite historic that after the war that took 58,000 brave young American lives, that a ship named after my father and grandfather would pull into the port that was once, our major American base. And it also is an indication that the Chinese are frightening everybody in the region. It's not that the Vietnamese have grown to love us, but the Chinese have become very aggressive in the entire region, which has tended to build better relations between the United States and Vietnam. So anyway, and the F-35s are coming to Luke Air Force Base. They're going to be coming to MCAS Yuma, and I'm so excited about that, too.
That's outstanding, and a great boost for the state of Arizona as well.
Yeah. Anyway, okay.
Okay, let me jump in. You have another round of I call them attack ads. Is that unfair to even call them attack ads on your Republican challenger, J.D.
Factual
Hayward?
information.
We can refer to them as factual information. Well, and they are factual from the standpoint of I don't hear people disputing the facts. I guess is a lot of it, and the facts are what they are. Yeah. I had a question for you.
Sure.
Where is the balance when you have certainly been in your share of campaigns and elections? Where's the balance between negative and issues? Because I think, and we were talking a little bit, you get a sense, and I hardly think I'm alone in this. People get turned off by this. We had a discussion yesterday about the CD3 here, the Arizona Congressional District 3, where we have charges of racism and pictures of candidates with people who may or may not be their family, and there's a sense of we've sullied politics so much. It is frustrating, I think, for a lot of people. And you as a candidate, where's the balance?
Well, I think the balance is a judgment that people make. The voters will decide whether those are factual, important information, or they are simply unwarranted and scurrilous attacks against your opponent. And again, as you started to say, if there's anybody who doesn't think that our ads are factual, I would be more than happy to provide them with all the background information. There's an organization, as you know, called FactCheck, factcheck.org, and they have have, with very rare exceptions, said that ours are accurate, unlike those run by my opponent. But, you know, it's a tough business, you know. It's like somebody said, I guess it was Vince Lombardi, about football. It's not a contact sport. It's a collision sport. And I enjoy campaigning, and I enjoy the back and forth. And so, you know, here we go.
Your daughter has a book coming out.
Yes.
And your daughter addresses some of this in it, because I think there's a certain amount of her not specifically, but kind of this whole politics, and the Republican Party maybe has drifted away from young voters. They have difficulty associating with them. Certainly, you could argue the immigration issue right now is driving a wedge inside the Republican Party. This talk of the 14th Amendment, there's discussion inside. Where are young voters? Why would young voters come to the Republican Party these days? What's in it for them?
I got to give you a straight talk, Bruce. We've got to give them a reason to come to the Republican Party, and more young people are registering as independent. And that's why before this election, I hope in September, that we give some positive reasons, like a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution, like getting our border secured, like repeal and replace of Obamacare, like line item veto, like 5 or 6 issues we can say, look, you give us majorities back, we'll give you these in the first 100 days, even if the President of the United States vetoes them. I'm proud of the work that we have done in the Congress since the Obama administration came in, and they have portrayed us as, quote, the party of no. I understand that. Yeah. I understand that. But I also have to tell you the reality was they came to power with 60 votes in the Senate and with overwhelming majorities in the House, and they just started ramming things through. And they're governing from the left in a right-of-center nation. So we really didn't have any choice. There was never a time, I can assure you, there was never a time where there were serious negotiations that went on between the president, Nancy Pelosi, or Harry Reid, and Republicans. And because, as they're jammed through the stimulus package, this $832 billion. Yeah, by the way, in case you missed Tom Coburn's and my 100
I loved
projects.
Loved it. We posted it online. We talked about the unbelievable waste and some of the most stupid projects you can possibly imagine. The taxpayer.
My favorite is cocaine to monkeys.
Yes, without a doubt. One of the headlines. Although you'd be hard pressed to say it's the worst of all of them. You know, right. That was actually, with the amount of spending they wasted on that, was frugal compared to some of the other
That's exactly right.
projects.
So look, what we may see here is I know we're going to see a really landmark election in November, and then we will tell the President of the United States, we promise the American people the following, like a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution, like no more earmarks and pork barrel spending. And join us, Mr. President, and you sign this legislation, and then maybe we can work together on a number of other issues. But right now, it's just been a one-way street, and one that I am proud of John Kyle's leadership, that he is. I have never seen a guy spend more time with more egos than John Kyle has in keeping, 41. We had to keep every one of 41. Yeah. And the job that he has done.
I think help's on the way, for lack of better terms. I'm not sure you're going to get control of the Senate back, although I think there's certainly that chance. But it's certainly going to get a little closer to a
lot closer,
and being able to negotiate a little bit. And is this a careful what you wish for issue? And I don't want to get too inside here with Senator McCain, but. If and when the Republicans gain control back of the House and at least get closer or close the gap or take control of the Senate, it falls on you guys. Then it becomes President Obama, as you saw, and you were in the Senate when President Clinton said, "All right, you guys are in charge. Now what?"
Well, after the elections of '94. President Clinton was forced to sit down with us. We had enacted the biggest welfare reform in history. We did have balanced budgets. We did have surpluses. There was a huge peace dividend along with that. By the way, you don't want to neglect that part of it. Right. There was huge amounts of money because we were able to, with the Cold War over, reduce defense spending. But still, you know, I'm proud of the fact that we reformed welfare in a way that has saved the taxpayers billions of dollars and maybe more importantly, motivates people to go back to work. Yeah. Which obviously the previous system, certainly in my view, did not. So, look, we want to work with anybody who work with us, but we have to maintain our principles. Like Ronald Reagan maintained his principles when he would sit down across the table having a drink with the old liberal from Massachusetts, Tip O'Neill.
Tip O'Neill was a great friend of his.
And they would sit down and in mutual respect, but Ronald Reagan, whether it be with Tip O'Neill or with Gorbachev at Reykjavik, never gave up on principle. And that's why we all revere him. Yeah. He got things done, but he might have made some compromises from time to time, but he always stuck with principle.
In fairness, and I'm certainly not a fan of it, is President Obama doing the same thing? These are his principles. He believes he had a mandate 18 months ago, and he's doing what he believes his mandate was. Now, there's an argument the American public wasn't aware of what he thought his mandate was, but isn't he standing true to his principles in a certain sense?
Having an intimate knowledge as to the things he said during the campaign. No, he promised to govern from the center. He promised there'd be transparency. He promised negotiations would be on C-SPAN. He promised that he wouldn't raise people's taxes. I mean, look, when you look at the commitments that he made in the campaign, he did not in any way portray what he was going to do with what they've actually done. Look, stimulus package, not maximum unemployment if you pass a stimulus package is going to be 8%. Hello, it's 9.5.
Right, unemployment just...
And what we've done to our... Well, you've heard the rant before. We need to talk about the border at some point.
Tell you what, can we take a break and we're going to be back?
Absolutely.
Let's talk about the border and we'll talk about the latest round of stimulus that's being shoved down our throats, okay?
Cuts in defense, raising taxes.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll be right back with more. Next with Senator John McCain on News Talk 92.3 KT. And we're back. Joining us in the studio, the senior senator from the state of Arizona, John McCain. Let's jump right into a few things.
First of all, could we mention what we hope Snooki's going to be okay?
Snooki, actually, what was the quote she said? "I'm too pretty to go to jail," and I have bad news for Snooki. No, you're not, especially when you act the way she does. Anyway. I love it. You just keep getting thrust into the middle of these pop culture things, you know. You didn't even ask for the Snooki one. That was a good one where she was opposed to the tanning tax, you might remember.
And she knows that I wouldn't have supported tanning tax because I'm so pale.
Yeah, well, there is that. That was her thought process. Anyway. I know he wouldn't do that.
Anyway,
let's talk about immigration and talk about the border. And obviously, since the last time we've talked, it has continued to heat up and ratchet up. I mentioned the billboard that went up yesterday by a pro-immigration group. I don't know what to call them anymore. Anti-1070, pro-open borders. I don't know what they want other than don't enforce laws. But they now have a billboard up in downtown Phoenix that says... show us your papers, caution Arizona ahead type thing.
I'll bet you that ad is paid for by one of the unions. The Service Employees Union has been bussing people in. They have been, by the way, they've spent hundreds of millions of dollars on the Obama campaign. And again, I would like to say the people who support from within Arizona, who support a boycott of Arizona, you are disgraceful and despicable people. I say that, and I'll be glad to back that up. You're hurting 30% of our population. Stop it. Yeah. Encourage people to come to our great state of Arizona. Don't act like they're despicable people.
Yes, sir.
If you want to ever need more cynicism about what we do in Washington, let me brief you with a brief story. It's a little complicated, as we have a tendency to make things complicated in Washington so people can't understand. Yeah. John Kyle and I have been pushing this 10-point plan. We've been trying to get the funding to get the border secure, and the Democrats are feeling the heat because they see 70, 80, 90% of the American people.
They read the polls too, right?
Yeah, say secure the borders, support America. America, support Arizona and their law. So Senator Schumer goes to the floor Thursday afternoon after everybody's left town, and I'd heard that he's going to Florida, and he proposed $600 million to secure the border. The money being taken out of the fees that you charge people who bring people to this country to work on a temporary basis. And I'm not trying to overcomplicate it, but it was paid for, okay? So I went down on the floor, and I said, after questioning why there wasn't money for the fence and some other stuff, I said, okay, put John Kyle and I down as co-sponsors. Well, that put him in a dither because they expected us to object. So the bill
You called his bluff on it.
Yeah. So the bill goes over to the House of Representatives. And guess what the House of Representatives does today? Rather than just pass the Senate bill, which then would have sent $600 million to enforce our border, they passed a House bill, which then would have to be passed by the Senate bill. And the House bill is the same as the one we passed through the Senate.
It's like a game of ping pong.
Knowing that Harry Reid is not going to call the Senate back into session in the month of August. Now, if that doesn't make you cynical, playing games with our border security, where we could have had today, beginning to send $600 million to get our border more secure, and it's $600 million isn't enough, but it certainly would have been a step in the right direction. And our representative from the southern part of the state talking about Congresswoman Giffords talking about how this is important. All she had to do was tell Nancy Pelosi, pass this bill the Senate passed, and we can start getting some money to the border. So if you're ever cynical, my friends, about this is suspicions confirmed about the games that we play in Washington, D.C., and we're talking about the security of our nation, who's on southern borders, 28,000 Mexican citizens.
We continue to work with the Alaska National Guard.
Whoops, hold on one second. We got something. There we go. Sorry, that was our fault. Press conference going on about Ted Stevens. We'll keep you updated on that in just a little bit.
But John Kyle and I won't give up the fight.
Nor should you.
We will get the 10-point plan done, and we will get our border secure.
I didn't get a chance to ask you about 1070 and about the judge's ruling. Obviously, it's going to work its way through the courts. Some of your thoughts?
Very disappointed, obviously, and some of the rationale was that it would overload the federal government's ability to carry out the law.
Undue burden, correct?
Let's give them some more money.
You're in charge. You could do that.
Cut that stimulus money and give it to giving them more ability to take care of the issue.
I'm not an attorney, so obviously I don't understand the nuances of it. But you know, when the judge ruled that it would be an undue burden on the government, she was arguing that it would be an undue burden on the federal government to enforce the laws that they already have on the books. Well, then take the law off the book. I'd say it's one or the other. How can you pass laws but if we actually have to enforce it, that's going to create a burden on us that we just can't handle.
Let's put the chimpanzees into rehab and take that money.
There you go.
And expand the federal government's ability to carry out federal law. It's just it is bizarre, but the reason why Senator Schumer, who is one of the smart guys in the Senate, went to the floor on Thursday afternoon and proposed additional funding for the border, the Democrats and Obama are beginning to feel the heat. That gives me optimism.
It certainly does. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me on, Bruce.
Appreciate it.